In the summer of 1914, Europe looked orderly on the surface. Crowned monarchs, great empires, mighty fleets beneath that claim rivalries, secret alliances, and a hunger for power had tightened like a nose. Then a single bullet in Sarajevo lit the fuse. In the month, the continent would explode into a war unlike any before it. A war that changed the war forever. The first clash, Liège, first major engagement of August 1914. On the night of August 5th, 1914, five German columns advanced on Liège in Belgium. German plane assumed little resistance. They were wrong. Liège was ringed by modern concert forts and garrisoned by determined Balkans. The Germany brought enormous siege howitzers, guns that fired shells so high then fell from the sky and smashed fortifications. Bullet to repel ordinary artilleries. After days of bombardment and fierce lightning, the forts began to fall. By August 16th, Liège was taken, but the delay disrupted German timetables and showed that even swift plans could be checked by stubborn defense. This small siege was the first major clash of a conflict that would quickly become global. Europe's balance of power. To understand 1914, look first to the power. Europe still dominated world politics. Germany had surged ahead industrially and militarily. Its steel mills and factories outproduced many rivals. Britain, though overtake in some industries, held the world by sea. The Royal Navy and the Empire gave it unmatched global reach. France, Belgium, Italy, and Austria Hungary remained important regional powers. Russia covered vast land and was rapidly industrializing, but it lagged behind Germany in industrial output. Outside Europe, new forces rose. The United States had become an industrial giant, producing immense coals, iron, and steel, while Japan had modernized and proved itself in the Russo-Japanese War of 1904 to 1905. In 1914, the world mixed old empires and newly powerful states, an unstable balance of influence. Industry and war. Industrial power rewrote warfare. Factories produced rifles, artillery, and munitions in numbers early armies could not imagine. Railways moved quickly, telegraphs coordinated mobilizations, nations competed for raw materials and markets, driving imperial expansion overseas. Driving imperial expense overseas. The result, economic strength translated directly into military potential. Whoever made more steel and coal could arm larger armies and sustain longer conflict. Political system and decision making. Politics shaped how nations acted. Britain, France, and the United States had parliamentary systems where elected representatives mattered. Germany had an elected Reichstags, but real control rested with the Kaiser and the Chancellor. Power concentrated in elites and military leaders. Italy and Japan had limited franchises favoring elites. Russia and Austria Hungary were largely autocratic. Empires could override parliaments. These differences mattered in some states. Public debate could restrain leaders in orders. Decisions could be made quickly by monarchs and generals with a little public oversight. When crisis came, that different in decision making could speed country into war. Imperial expansion after 1880. Between 1880 and 1914, Europe's power raced to build empires. Much of Africa was covered into colonies in a furious scramble for territories, resources, and markets. In Asia, powers pried open China for trading concessions. The 1911 fall of Manchu dynasty showed how imperial pressures and internal weakness reshaped nations. Colonies meant prestige and raw materials for factories, but they also sharpened competitions over as rivalries often fed distract and diplomatic conflict back in Europe. Alliance system. By the early 19th, Europe's states arranged themselves into rival blocs. The Triple Alliances linked Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy. Opposing them was a triple entity: Britain, France, and Russia. These alliances were defensive in wording but dangerous in effect. A local crisis could trigger mutual commitments, turning a religion fight into a continental war. Britain also had a naval understanding with Japan. Alliances were meant to preserve peace. Instead, they made the stakes of any dispute much higher. Causes of friction. A cluster of the tensions pushed Europe closer to the conflict. A naval armies race between Britain and Germany breed mutual suspicion. France, France nursed grievance over Alsace-Lorraine lost to Germany in 1871. Germany's well-politic and assertive global policy alarmed rivals who feared German ambition. Russia feared Austria moves in the Balkans, while Germany resented being encircled diplomatically. Economic competitions, nationalist pride, and public expectations for decisive leadership created a climate in which compromise weakened and brinkmanship grew. Every crisis added pressure for a large blaze. Serbia and the Balkans powder. The Balkans, Europe's most dangerous narration. However, in Europe was danger greater than the Balkans as Ottoman power receded. New states and national movements filled the void. So, Serbia, in particular, embraced South Slav nationalism. Many Serbs lived under Habsburg rule and dreamed of a greater Serbia or a unified South Slav kingdom. After a coup in 1903, Serbia shifted towards Russia. Vienna feared that Serbian ambition would support secession across its multi-ethnic empire. Germans, Hungarians, and others might demand independence. Some Austrian leaders even considered a preventive strike to crush Serbian influence before it spread. In short, nationalism and imperial insecurity made the Balkans the most likely place for a spark to become an internal from Sarajevo to the general wars. On June 28, 1914, uh, Ferdinand, heir to Austria-Hungary's throne, was assassinated in Sarajevo. Vienna blamed Serbia and issued a harsh ultimatum. Germany offered Austria unconditionally support. Russia began to mobilize to protect Serbia. Mobilizations once underway were difficult to stop. Railway timetables, conceptions, plans, and military timetables locked leaders into action. Diplomatic effort failed within weeks. Europe's alliances and rivalries transformed a regional crisis into a general war. By August 1914, the constant was a war.